Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, October 4th. This is the Spartan. Want me to start off laughing? I'm not laughing at you, I'm laughing at myself. This is take three, not long takes, but easy things to avoid. So if you've ever recorded a video, phone message, whatever, I'm kind of living that hell right now. Anyways, this is just a brief update over on a few things that have happened over the last 24 hours, including the Russian losses. A little brief map update, some anti-drone footage, and then a couple other things, and then we'll get you started on your day. So to start with, over the last 24 hours, the Russians have lost 450 participants in the 3-day special military operation, which is approaching its starting its third year. So I don't think that went well from a planning perspective. Do you guys remember the fact that the Russian tanks in the column that came down from Chernobyl towards Kyiv, they had about 3 days worth of supplies or 5 days worth of supplies, something like that. And a lot of the men in the lead tanks actually had to dress uniforms so that they could go on parade, either in downtown Kyiv or maybe at the hospital airport, and basically have flowers thrown on them by adorning fans. Anyways, little sidebar. 13 tanks were lost over the last 24 hours. That's a very, very high number. It doesn't seem that high. It is very high. There was an attempted Russian attack in the south, and the Ukrainians basically anticipated it and ambushed them. Apparently, they were either waiting for them or they were prepared to kind of have a quick reaction force or whatever for any Russian advance. And they basically, in one particular battle over a very short period of time, they wiped out 4 T-72 B3s and an armored personnel carrier. And that was just in one battle. So when you see 13 tanks, 18 APCs, that sort of thing, there's the footage to back it up. If I showed you the footage every day of basically the confirmation of most of these hits, that's all you would do. I mean, there's literally hours and hours and hours every day of new footage. And we've heard from some frontline staff, units, that they don't actually release all the videos anymore. They're just not, unless something's really interesting. But anyways, 18 APVs, that's also creeping back up. So this tells me, possibly the Russians are going on offense in a few different areas or counterattacking after being attacked, which is part of their rules of engagement. Once they get attacked, they basically form up and attack right away. 47 artillery, that is a new record. I believe the previous record was 45, so that is a new record. I did see an uptick in videos yesterday of like peons and various other pieces of artillery being hit, and so the uptick in kind of video volume seems to kind of reinforce the fact that number is correct. But 47, that's insane. They did fall just a little short of 1,000 artillery pieces taken out in the month of September. So let's do our best in October. Okay, we got an extra day too. One MLRS, 41 UAVs. That is huge. There was a large amount of UAVs and at least a couple of cruise missiles sent into Ukraine over the last 24 to 36 hours, and they took out a massive amount of them, and 30 plus vehicles. Please give me a like or subscribe if you're not doing so already. Would really appreciate that on my YouTube channel. So here is what air defense doing. So this is Ukrainian air defense, and it basically says the Russian military launched Shahed drone attacks in the Dnipropetrovsk and Mykolaiv oblasts last night. As many as 13 of the drones were downed by Ukraine air defenses, with a cruise missile additionally hit. So we got the cruise missile, obviously, on our little stat sheet that I just covered off, and we know a lot of UAVs were hit. And here's the air defense. I think that was an Iris T. And you see that double tap on that? So one, there goes one. Got it targeted. And then another one fires. Was that 3? Okay. So we got obviously the main missile here. And then something is taken off right. See that right there? Maybe that's a reflection. Is that a reflection? Yeah, that one's a reflection. So the missile's going into strike. And for sure, a missile, something launches from just in front of us. Oh, that's the reflection. I see what's happening. It's the kind of lens they're using. So it's only 2. So there's the second one. See, there's the first one. See the reflection go by on the camera lens? Looks like a little alien or something going up like that. And then there is the reflection of the second missile launching. So the first missile strikes the drone. I assume it's a Shahed based on the size of it. And then the second one follows him in and double taps it. That's pretty freaking impressive. It looks, I don't know. I'm guessing it's an Iris T, but anyways, just thought you'd like to see that successful air defense takeout of a Russian drone. It's pretty cool to see. From a map perspective, Ukraine forces advance in night attacks west of Novoprokopivka. God, I'm starting to nail that one all the time now. Russians suffered heavy losses in fighting between Robotyne and Verbove. So this is basically that lovely salient that we've been focusing on forever. There's Verbove. Continued fighting, continued losses. The Ukrainians are continuing to push south of Verbove as well as taking it head on. This particular this is Chuck Farr's map that he puts out. I kind of look on different maps to see if there's something that's catching my eye or whatever. And this one basically, he's calling out, he's got the identified ground line of communication right there that is supplying this front. And you can imagine, like, if that's the only line of communication, ground line of communication that's supplying the front, and it is well within every type of artillery, even small arms fire. So the Russians are in deep trouble, deep trouble. The original defensive lines were kind of across here, right? For the very first ones that they attacked, once they broke through those, they're getting into the second and the third line. So here's the second line, part of the Serovikin line, and here's the third one, and you can see they're actually across both of those, and I think they're into Verbove proper, to be honest with you, but it's hard to tell. We've seen some videos of them on the outside of Verbove, but I think they're actually on the inside of Verbove. But this is the approximate positions of the Russian defensive lines. And again, if the Ukrainians are in your trench and you're trying to hold this line here, and the Ukrainians are standing in your trench that you dug a long time ago and coming down this way, as well as the guys coming across this way, that's pretty challenging to defend. Ukrainian forces have advanced in night attacks west of Novoprokopivka, so that's over here. And it looks like they're pushing around the town, maybe same thing as Verbove, attacking forces on, directly head on. One to the south, one to the north. Sources report the Russian 1152nd Infantry Regiment has been rendered ineffective after heavy fighting in Novoprokopivka. So basically, combat ineffective. It's a different definition for each military, but I think NATO doctrine is roughly 15% of your forces in that particular unit or brigade or whatever it is. If you've lost it can be less than that, but if you've lost 15% of your combat fighting force, that basically has rendered your unit or brigade combat ineffective. The Russians basically, who knows, their battalion tactical groups are no longer being used. Othey're down to like unit, brigade, platoon levels, whatever, and they're I think their own personal definition of combat ineffective is if there's anybody left in the trench to stand there. And I don't know if NATO doctrine is being applied to them. If you had 1,000 men and you lost 150 men, that's terrifying, right? Because each one of those men technically needs four men to take them off the battlefield. So you just, like, if you lose 150 men, you need another 600 potentially to transport them, either one at a time or 600. That's 750. That instantly takes you down to 250 left. If you just do the math, just break it down like that, it's terrifying. So when the Russians lose 500 people in a day, even if half of those people had to be transported, pulled off the battlefield or whatever, that's 1,000 people to take 250 of them off. I don't know. It's just, and sometimes the Russians don't bother, but so anyways, very cool. This was just kind of funny. The ban on Russian cars entering into a number of EU member states will not remain unanswered, Zakharova said. So I just wanted to put that as a PSA for all of you planning to travel to Russia via car. There's a good chance that the Russians are not going to allow you in. So maybe make different plans. United 24. This is fantastic. The Ukrainians beat the Russians in the use of FPV drones. Jaga jaga. The graph shows the number of geolocated FPV drone strikes by month. Blue is Ukrainian, red is Russian. And these are just geolocated. So there's many, many more that aren't geolocated for whatever reason, right? But so here you see the Russians in September probably topped out at about 60 geolocated FPV drone strikes on Ukrainian targets. Ukrainians 255. And it's just been going up month after month after month. And Jake Bro reported a while ago, I think it was, that the Ukrainians were increasing their drone usage and production by 1,000%. That's a lot. So there's the Million Drone Project and all that sort of stuff, right? So there's a lot of drones out there. The head of the Russian Occupation Administration of Zaporizhia, Evgeny Belitsky, says that Russia will reconquer Poland, Finland, and the Baltic states because, air quote, they are historical lands of Russia. Russian imperialism never died. Listen to what they say. So I'm not going to play this for you, but I just basically wanted you to see. This gentleman is not speaking on Russian TV because he's just made this up out of whole cloth. He doesn't go on TV unless the Russian MOD or the SBU or somebody gives him permission to go on and say what he's going to say. They pre-clear their speeches, etc. So will the Russians take back any other countries or even more of Ukraine? No. But do they want that message out there for psychology, reverse OPSEC, whatever, put the fear into somebody? Yes. Are they is this message sent towards a country that might waffle, like potentially a Germany, which they won't, but potentially? Are they trying to say, to those countries, like, either don't join NATO, don't send troops, don't send more equipment or whatever, or we're coming for you? Yes, 100%. So, but believe what they do, not what they say. This gentleman, I wanted to play this for you. This is basically, there's no OPSEC. This has not been geolocated, and I wouldn't unless they wanted us to. This is basically a troop of Ukrainians entering into a new village. This video was just released today, and I want you to see how sad these guys are. Actually, let me rewind that. I know some people might be listening to this on the phone. I will read along. He's not speaking too fast. There is English subtitles. There are many of us here, and there will be more. Looks like about 20 guys, by the way, but all told, but hard to tell. Maybe more. We are cleaning the village. Everything. We've cleared it all. Of course, the massacre was not easy, and some of this is lost in translation. They covered us a bit and shot at us, but nothing. But there are still 200 meters left, 200 meters. And I'm not going to even speculate. I think I know where this might be, but and then we'll be finished. Here's the 95th gang. Is anyone there? Gently. Probably more like slowly or carefully. Here we go. Moving forward. There's some artillery. Clearing. Real war. God help us. God help us. God help us. How's Petya? Pull up. Pull up, my group. That's like get up. I think that's get up, get up. Let's go. These guys are smiling. Like, come on. You're going into battle. You're being fired at. So, and there's a few things you can see from that. The one most important thing is the fact that there's a large amount of them. They're clearly advancing. They're stating that this is new territory, which is very believable. There's sort of the retreating artillery that if that was Russian artillery, which I believe it would, the Ukrainians don't tend to shell their own towns as they're taking them. So that would be Russian artillery shelling as they're retreating. Also matches up. And the fact that these 20 or so soldiers are, for the most part, until that little artillery barrage came in, for the most part, they are walking confidently down the center of the street. They've got good spacing for the most part, which is kind of like standard practice. Don't all line up close together, don't bunch, all that sort of thing. Offset, off angle. But for these guys to be walking sort of 20 guys down the middle of a road, spread out, smiling, not too concerned, tells me that they've got firm control of the area. And they're confidently moving forward. And whatever town or city this is, they've got 200 meters left, which is about 700 feet. Last thing I wanted to do is play for you a little speech from President Zelensky. He doesn't highlight things unless it's intentional, whether it's an ask or a promise of what's coming, that sort of thing. So in this case, in the coming weeks, we are determined to work actively with our partners to provide our warriors with more weapons and ammunition, particularly air defense systems and missiles. So that can be that he knows that they're on the way, or he's basically laying the groundwork for the allies to basically say that we need them. And I think Zelensky wants to, do even a better job this winter of preventing the Russians from taking out the energy infrastructure on cold days, that sort of thing. And Zelensky's also basically stated that this time's going to be different. If you target our power stations, we'll target yours. But here we go. Good health to you, fellow Ukrainians. Today I'm in Kharkiv region, Kupiansk and Lyman directions, then the city of Kharkiv. Our warriors, combat brigades, commanders, together with the team, we paid a visit to the 103rd Separate Territorial Defense Brigade, the 68th Separate Jaeger Brigade, named after Alexei Dovbush, the 25th Separate Airborne Brigade, Sishislav, and the 15th Mobile Mortar Guard Detachment Steel Border. Today I had the opportunity to talk to servicemen from other brigades as well. As always, we talked to the battalion commanders, specific needs of the units, weapons and supplies, as well as manning the brigades. I want to stop right there real quick. Can you imagine being on the front lines or close to it, and the president of your country drops in, and it's not the first time, it's not the last time, he drops in and talks to frontline troops and says, hey, what do you need? What do you got? Where's some gaps? What can I do to help? Like, come on. You know how much that would motivate me? You, anyone? To know that the number one person as far as political power, leadership, etc. in the country. Anyways, there are things that need to be done in particular to ensure that our brigades have greater motivation and combat capabilities. I also had the honor to award the warriors who distinguished themselves, soldiers, sergeants, and officers, different units, different combat paths, but equally strong Ukrainians. I'm proud of all of them. It was a great pleasure to award our combat medics. Thank you all for protecting Ukraine, for confidence. Thank you for your chevrons and coins. I will keep them. So the chevrons and coins, basically what that is each unit, it's become a kind of tradition now. Each unit will basically take a patch off their shoulder or their specific unit, chevron, coin, flag, that sort of thing. And Zelensky sometimes has signed some of them, especially if those units are giving them away to other people that have supported them. But basically, they want Zelensky to take their patch with them. They want to know that their unit is, is a part of his sort of, I don't want to call it trophy case, that belittles it, but basically his collage montage of all the units that he's visited, so nobody wants to be left out. So literally every single time I've seen him visit a unit, somebody in that unit gives him something, whether it's a challenge coin, whether it's a chevron, whether it's a shoulder patch, whether it's a flag. So it's really cool. It's kind of become a tradition. Today I also had separate long talks with all those responsible for defense and socioeconomic situation in Kharkiv and the region. There are many issues that are important for the region, especially in the run-up to the winter, especially given the constant Russian terror attacks against Kharkiv. Kharkiv is literally on the front line against the region and the occupiers' attempts to intensify assaults on our positions. I heard report from General Syrski, as well as from the heads of the Regional Security Service of Ukraine and the National Police, detailed reports on the protection of the Kharkiv region. Again, it's so cool too, because he's not some ivory tower kind of general or president who basically is going to sit there and let some frontline staff member, some frontline soldier give a report to a sergeant, who gives a report to a lieutenant, who gives a report to a unit commander, who gives a report to a regional commander, then a general, then an admin staff, and then maybe the head of the military or whoever is presenting, and then finally the report gets to you, Zelensky. And if you've ever played the telephone game, by that point it has been so cleaned up and doctored up and polished up and things added and things removed that nothing close to what the frontline soldier said is in that report. So Zelensky basically is saying, cut out all the middlemen. I'm just going to go right to the front line. I love it. We discussed the protection from Russian shelling, energy supply to the cities and villages of Kharkiv region, protection of energy facilities, restoration of housing and social sphere, as well as humanitarian demining with the relevant officials, the regional and city heads, the Ministry of Energy, the CEOs of Ukrainian, Naftgas, and others. So big companies. It's extremely important that Kharkiv, despite everything, does not just hold on, but keeps our entire East Coast going, and proud and bright city that will always be. Sorry, I'm losing it. He's sped up a bit there on me. It's extremely important that Kharkiv, despite everything, does not just hold on, but helps keep our entire East strong, not East Coast. Proud and bright city that will always be a city of strength for Ukraine and the whole of Europe. The meetings also resulted in instructions on preparations for the heating season, reconstruction, and physical protection of energy facilities from Russian attacks. Everything needs to be fulfilled, and some issues require significant acceleration. Tomorrow I expect a detailed report on the restoration projects from the government officials. The ball has been dropped in the past in certain cities. Certain things happen in Kherson. Definitely things happen in Kyiv and some other cities. Emergency preparedness, air defense, bomb shelters, emergency sort of community shelters. They were called, what were they called? The, oh my goodness. There was those big, huge red tents. They were called, like, not Undaunted, but anyways. So those sorts of things all need to be in place and ready to go, as opposed to reactive after the fact. Separate instructions were also given to the military. In the coming weeks, we will be working very actively with our partners to ensure that our warriors have more weapons and ammunition. That tells me something's coming, particularly air defense. This is most important. Thank you to everyone who helps Ukraine. Glory to all defend our country and people. Слава Україні. Слава Україні. Слава Україні. Слава. there you go. That's it. That is your update for this morning, at least. If I don't talk to you for the rest of the day, have an amazing hump day. Tell someone you love them. Support Ukraine. Like, subscribe, and share, or I'll call the cops on you. Have a great day.